Did you know that up to 30% of coffee sold worldwide contains fillers, adulterants, or inferior beans fraudulently labeled as premium? That morning cup you trust might be cut with roasted corn, barley, chicory, or even toxic chemicals used to artificially enhance color and aroma. Major coffee brands have been caught using moldy beans, dangerous pesticide residues, and deceptive labeling practices that turn your daily ritual into a health hazard. We're exposing the dark side of the coffee industry today with shocking findings from independent laboratories, food safety investigators, and whistleblowers. Some of America's most trusted coffee brands have been linked to contamination scandals, false advertising lawsuits, and quality control failures. Today, we're revealing the 15 worst coffee brands in America according to testing labs and industry experts. Household names that have been deceiving consumers for decades with inferior beans, chemical additives, and outright fraud. But don't worry, stick around, because I'll show you exactly how to spot fake coffee in seconds and give you 5 critical rules for buying pure, safe coffee. Stay tuned, because one wrong bag could mean you're brewing contaminated beans and chemical additives into your morning cup every single day. Let's jump into the 15 worst coffee brands in America. 1. Folgers. Folgers has dominated American coffee sales for over 150 years with its iconic red container. Owned by J.M. Smucker Company, it's the #1 selling brand. But food scientists and testing labs consistently rank it among the lowest quality coffees available. The primary problem is extremely poor bean quality. Coffee industry insiders reveal Folgers uses predominantly Robusta beans mixed with the lowest grade Arabica available on commodity markets. One former buyer explained, Folgers purchases whatever beans are cheapest globally. These are often beans with defects, mold damage, or that failed quality inspections for premium brands. Independent laboratory testing by Clean Label Project found Folgers contained concerning acrylamide levels, a potentially carcinogenic compound forming when beans are over-roasted. Folgers showed significantly higher levels than premium brands. Dr. Michael Hansen explains, aggressive dark roasting hides defects, but creates higher levels of potentially harmful compounds. Testing also revealed mycotoxins in some samples. These toxic mold compounds indicate quality control failures. The flavor is notoriously poor, professional tasters describing it as burnt, bitter, harsh, with chemical notes. Consumer complaints describe stomach upset, acid reflux, and headaches. Some report finding foreign objects, including insects and twigs. Folgers provides zero transparency about sourcing, refusing to disclose where beans come from. 2. Maxwell House. Maxwell House, the other giant of mass-market coffee, competes directly with Folgers for budget market share. According to experts and testing, labs Maxwell House faces many of the same quality problems as Folgers, with some unique concerns that make it particularly problematic. Maxwell House uses predominantly low-grade Robusta and inferior Arabica beans from the cheapest sources globally. One consultant explained, both Maxwell House and Folgers make the same product using the same strategy. Buy the cheapest beans possible, roast dark enough to mask defects, and sell based on brand recognition rather than quality. Independent testing by Consumer Reports found Maxwell House contained elevated pesticide residues compared to organic and premium brands. While within legal limits, the presence of multiple pesticide compounds concerns health advocates who recommend minimizing exposure. Dr. Philip Landrigan states, we should minimize pesticide exposure wherever possible. Choosing organic coffee is one simple way to reduce your family's pesticide burden. What makes Maxwell House particularly concerning is evidence of filler materials in some testing. Independent laboratories have found what appears to be roasted corn, barley, and chicory in some samples, ingredients not listed on labels. One food fraud expert stated, roasted corn costs a fraction of coffee beans. If you can mix in 20% filler without detection, your profit margins soar. Professional tasters consistently rate Maxwell House poorly. Descriptions include harsh, bitter, burnt, with cardboard notes and chemical aftertaste. Consumer complaints describe metallic taste, stomach upset, and headaches. The packaging raises concerns as Maxwell House is sold in plastic containers that can potentially leach compounds into coffee over time. 3. Great value, Walmart coffee. Walmart's great value coffee dominates budget shopping with rock-bottom prices. But according to experts and testing labs, that low price comes with serious quality and safety compromises that far outweigh any savings and potentially expose consumers to contaminated, adulterated coffee. The fundamental problem is Walmart's sourcing strategy, which prioritizes absolute lowest cost above all considerations, including quality and safety. Food industry insiders explain Walmart sources from the cheapest suppliers globally, often in countries with minimal food safety regulations. One former supplier stated, "Walmart's buyers have one directive: find the cheapest possible price. Quality is secondary. This creates a race to the bottom where suppliers cut every possible corner." Independent laboratory testing found elevated ochratoxin A levels, a mycotoxin that's a known carcinogen and kidney toxin. While within FDA limits, their presence indicates quality control failures and use of compromised beans. Testing also found evidence suggesting possible filler materials in some samples. Coffee fraud experts explain budget brands like Great Value are particularly vulnerable because their prices are so low that suppliers struggle to make profits using pure coffee. The taste is consistently rated worst among mass-market brands. Descriptions include harsh, burnt, distinctly bitter, with off notes suggesting rancidity. Multiple consumers report strange chemical taste. Consumer complaints describe severe stomach upset, nausea, headaches, and what some believe were allergic reactions. Some have reported finding foreign objects, including insect fragments and wood chips. Walmart provides zero transparency about great value coffee sourcing, refusing to disclose where beans originate or what testing is performed. 4. Nescafe instant coffee. Nescafe, owned by Nestlé, is the world's largest instant coffee brand. While instant coffee has convenience benefits, Nescafe specifically faces serious quality concerns that make it one of the worst coffee products available, according to food scientists and coffee experts. The fundamental problem is extremely poor bean quality. Instant coffee manufacturing requires beans that can withstand aggressive processing. Because of this, manufacturers typically use the absolute lowest grade beans available. One industry insider explained, "Instant coffee manufacturers buy beans that can't be sold for any other purpose. These are defective beans, broken beans, beans with mold damage. They're the waste product that would otherwise be discarded." Independent laboratory testing revealed concerning acrylamide levels even higher than regular roasted coffee. The spray drying process involves extremely high temperatures that generate significant acrylamide. While all instant contains acrylamide, Nescafe showed particularly high levels. Dr. David Carpenter states, "Regular daily consumption of products with elevated acrylamide concerns me, especially for children and pregnant women." Testing also found Nescafe contains significantly less caffeine than claimed on labels, sometimes 30–40% less than stated. This deceptive labeling is problematic for consumers who depend on specific caffeine amounts for medication timing. The manufacturing process destroys virtually all beneficial compounds. Studies found instant coffee retains only a fraction of the antioxidants in fresh coffee. Dr. Joe Vincent explains, "The health benefits associated with coffee come from compounds largely destroyed in instant coffee manufacturing." Consumer complaints describe stomach upset, severe heartburn, jitters, and headaches. Some report what they describe as withdrawal symptoms or addiction specifically to Nescafe that seems more intense than regular coffee, possibly due to processing or added compounds. 5. Chock full O-Nuts. Chock full O-Nuts, with its distinctive yellow can and nostalgic branding, has been a New York institution since 1932. However, coffee experts have identified multiple serious concerns that make it one of the worst coffee choices available, despite loyal regional following. The primary issue is bean quality. Like other mass-market brands, Chock full O-Nuts uses low-grade beans purchased based on price rather than quality. The company sources predominantly from Brazil and Vietnam, which produce massive quantities of commodity-grade coffee. One coffee buyer explained, "The specific lots chock full o' nuts purchases are bottom-tier stuff that quality roasters reject." Independent testing revealed concerning ochratoxin A levels, suggesting use of beans with mold contamination. Ochratoxin A is a kidney toxin and probable carcinogen that forms when beans are stored in humid conditions. What makes chock full o' nuts particularly problematic is extremely aggressive dark roasting that creates harsh, burnt flavor and elevated levels of potentially harmful compounds. Professional tasters describe it as having burnt, bitter, harsh flavor, with no complexity. One certified grader stated, "Chock full o' nuts tastes like charcoal. They're roasting so dark, the beans are essentially carbonized." Laboratory analysis found it loses approximately 90% of antioxidant content compared to lighter roasted specialty coffee. Dr. Bob Arnott explains, "Dark roasting destroys the chlorogenic acids and other antioxidants that give coffee its health benefits." The packaging uses metal cans with plastic lids that don't seal properly, allowing oxidation and staleness. Multiple consumers report chock full o' nuts tastes distinctly stale even with recent dates. Consumer complaints consistently describe severe stomach problems, acid reflux, and digestive distress that trigger heartburn, so severe consumers had to stop drinking it. 6. 8 o'clock coffee. 8 o'clock coffee, one of America's oldest coffee brands dating to 1859, was once considered decent value. However, after multiple ownership changes and aggressive cost-cutting, coffee experts now rank 8 o'clock among the worst mainstream brands, with quality that has deteriorated dramatically. The current ownership, Tata Global Beverages, has systematically reduced quality while maintaining prices. One former employee stated, "When Tata took over, the directive was clear: cut costs everywhere possible. They downgraded bean quality, reduced roasting oversight, and eliminated quality control positions. The coffee with the 8 o'clock label today is dramatically inferior to what it was even 10 years ago." Independent testing found 8 o'clock contains concerning pesticide residue levels, with multiple pesticide compounds detected in single samples. While within legal limits individually, the combination creates the cocktail effect, where multiple chemicals interact in ways that may be more harmful than individual exposures. Dr. Philip Landrigan explains, "Current regulations test pesticides individually, but people are exposed to mixtures. The combined effect may be significantly worse than regulators account for." Laboratory analysis also found evidence of Robusta bean content far higher than typical for brands claiming to be Arabica blends. DNA testing suggests 8 o'clock contains significantly more Robusta than their marketing implies. One fraud investigator stated, "Misrepresenting bean types is fraud. If you claim Arabica blend but deliver mostly Robusta, you're deceiving consumers." The taste has deteriorated noticeably. Reviews from customers who've bought 8 o'clock for decades consistently note dramatic quality decline, describing current batches as harsh, bitter, with chemical notes. Consumer complaints describe severe stomach upset, acid reflux, and nausea specifically from 8 o'clock. The company provides minimal transparency about sourcing or processing, refusing to provide details when consumer groups request information. 7. Café Bustelo. Café Bustelo, the iconic yellow can of Cuban-style espresso coffee, has passionate devotees who love its intense, bold flavor. However, quality experts and health professionals have identified serious concerns that make Café Bustelo problematic, despite its cultural significance. The primary concern is exceptionally low-grade beans. The brand uses predominantly low-quality Robusta beans from Vietnam and Brazil, which are among the cheapest coffees available globally. One trader explained, "The Robusta that goes into Café Bustelo is stuff that high-end instant coffee manufacturers reject. It's broken beans, defective beans, and beans with quality issues." Independent laboratory testing found Café Bustelo contains very high acrylamide levels, among the highest of any coffee tested. The ultra-dark roasting creates significantly elevated acrylamide levels. Dr. Michael Greger states, "Regular high-level exposure concerns me. dark roasted coffees consistently show the highest acrylamide levels, which is why I recommend lighter roasts. Testing also revealed concerning heavy metal content, particularly cadmium and lead. While within legal limits, the presence of these toxic metals is concerning for daily consumers. Heavy metals accumulate in the body over time. What makes Cafe Bustelo particularly problematic is extreme dark roasting that essentially carbonizes the beans. Professional tasters describe it as burnt, harsh, bitter, with notes of ash and charcoal. The coffee retains minimal antioxidants and contains elevated levels of compounds created during excessive heating. One food scientist stated, "When you roast coffee until it tastes like charcoal, you've destroyed the coffee and created something else." Consumer complaints describe severe digestive problems, intense jitters, and anxiety. Multiple consumers report heart palpitations, severe stomach cramping, and what they describe as withdrawal symptoms, more intense than other coffees. 8. Dunkin' Donuts packaged coffee. Dunkin' coffee served fresh in stores has different sourcing than packaged coffee sold in retail stores, which is manufactured by J.M. Smucker Company under license. The packaged Dunkin' sold in grocery stores faces numerous quality problems despite the trusted brand name and assumption it matches the in-store experience. The primary issue is bean quality substantially inferior to what Dunkin' uses in stores. The packaged retail coffee uses low-grade Arabica mixed with Robusta, sourced from the cheapest suppliers to maximize Smucker's profit margins. One consultant explained, "The Dunkin' packaged coffee is made by Smucker using completely different supply chains than Dunkin' stores use. It's a licensing deal where Smucker pays to use the name. Consumers assume it's the same coffee they get at Dunkin' shops, but it absolutely is not." Independent testing found the packaged Dunkin' contains pesticide residues with multiple compounds detected. The presence of multiple residues creates the cocktail effect, where chemicals interact in potentially harmful ways. Laboratory analysis also found significant batch-to-batch variation, with some batches tasting noticeably different despite identical packaging. This variation suggests inconsistent sourcing and inadequate quality control. The taste receives consistently poor reviews from professional tasters and consumers. Descriptions include harsh, bitter, burnt, with chemical notes. Many consumers who enjoy Dunkin' shop coffee specifically note that the packaged version tastes nothing like it, confirming they're fundamentally different products. One certified grader stated, "Packaged Dunkin' is typical mass-market garbage. It bears no resemblance to decent coffee." Consumer complaints describe severe stomach upset, acid reflux, and digestive problems. Some report finding foreign objects, including insects, twigs, and unidentifiable particles. Multiple consumers note packaged Dunkin' causes more intense jitters and anxiety than equivalent caffeine from other brands. The packaging itself is inadequate for maintaining freshness. Testing found the seals often fail, allowing oxygen infiltration that degrades coffee rapidly. 9. McCafe, McDonald's packaged coffee. McCafe coffee served fresh at McDonald's locations has different sourcing than packaged McCafe sold in retail stores, which is manufactured by Kraft Heinz under license. The retail packaged McCafe faces serious quality concerns that make it one of the worst coffee options available, according to testing labs and experts. The fundamental problem is bean quality substantially inferior to what McDonald's uses in restaurants. The packaged retail McCafe uses low-grade Arabica and Robusta beans sourced from the cheapest suppliers to maximize profit margins on the licensing deal. One insider explained, "McCafe packaged coffee is made by Kraft using the same supply chains as Maxwell House. It's essentially rebranded Maxwell House with different flavoring. Consumers pay premium prices thinking they're getting McDonald's restaurant coffee, but they're getting the same cheap commodity beans as Maxwell House." Independent laboratory testing found concerning acrylamide levels comparable to other mass-market dark roasts. The aggressive roasting used to create consistency across low-grade beans generates elevated acrylamide. Testing also found multiple pesticide residues with some samples containing 5 or more different pesticide compounds. While individual levels remained within legal limits, the combination creates exposure to chemical mixtures that may interact in harmful ways. What makes packaged McCafe particularly problematic is significant discrepancy between claimed origin and actual sourcing. The packaging implies premium beans and suggests origin characteristics, but testing indicates the coffee is generic commodity blend with no discernible origin characteristics. One fraud investigator stated, "Origin fraud is pervasive in mass-market coffee. Companies imply specific origins that consumers associate with quality, but deliver cheap commodity beans from wherever is cheapest." The taste receives consistently poor ratings from professional tasters. Descriptions include harsh, bitter, burnt, with unpleasant astringency. Many consumers who enjoy McCafe restaurant coffee specifically note the packaged version tastes nothing like it. Consumer complaints describe severe digestive upset, heartburn, and stomach cramping. Multiple consumers report unusual reactions, including heart palpitations and severe jitters that seem disproportionate to caffeine content. The pricing is particularly egregious. Packaged McCafe typically costs 30–50% more than equivalent brands despite being essentially the same quality. 10. Starbucks, Pike Place, packaged. Starbucks Pike Place, the signature blend sold in retail packaging, deserves critical examination despite Starbucks' premium brand positioning. While Starbucks coffee served fresh in stores undergoes different handling, even the packaged Pike Place faces legitimate quality concerns that experts want consumers to understand. The primary concern is Starbucks' signature dark roasting style, which they call bold, but which coffee scientists describe as excessive. Pike Place is roasted significantly darker than specialty coffee standards recommend, to the point where origin characteristics are obliterated. Dr. Rob Hoos, a roasting expert, explains, "Starbucks roasts so dark that you could use premium Ethiopian beans or cheap Brazilian commodity coffee, and they'd taste virtually identical after roasting. The dark roasting destroys origin characteristics and creates a uniform burnt flavor regardless of bean quality. This aggressive dark roasting creates elevated acrylamide levels compared to lighter roasted specialty coffees. While Starbucks' acrylamide levels are generally lower than brands like Folgers due to better starting bean quality, they're still significantly higher than necessary because of the roasting degree. Studies show lighter roasting preserves beneficial antioxidants while creating less acrylamide. Independent testing has also found that packaged Pike Place loses substantial quality compared to fresh store-brewed Starbucks. Coffee degrades rapidly after roasting. The packaged Pike Place may sit in distribution channels and on shelves for weeks or months, during which time oils oxidize and flavors deteriorate. Multiple consumers report that packaged Pike Place tastes noticeably stale compared to fresh Starbucks. What makes Pike Place particularly concerning is the price-to-quality ratio, which is among the worst in the industry. Pike Place typically costs $8 or $12 per pound, pricing comparable to high-quality specialty coffees. However, testing and professional tasting confirm that Pike Place is medium-grade commodity coffee that's been aggressively dark roasted. One buyer stated, "Starbucks charges specialty prices but delivers commodity quality. You're paying for marketing and real estate, not bean quality." The sourcing transparency Starbucks provides is also misleading. While Starbucks markets ethical sourcing through their CAFE practices program, investigations have found the standards are less rigorous than they appear. Independent audits found farms certified under CAFE practices that used child labor, paid below minimum wage, and maintained poor environmental practices. If you're still watching and finding these revelations valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave the number 10 in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and ring that notification bell. Your support allows us to continue creating content that protects consumers and exposes the truth about what we're really buying. Now let's continue with the final 5 brands. 11. Community Coffee. Community Coffee, based in Louisiana and popular throughout the South, markets itself as a family-owned company making quality coffee. However, coffee experts and independent testing have revealed several concerning issues that make Community Coffee problematic despite its regional popularity. The primary concern is extremely aggressive dark roasting that destroys beneficial compounds while creating elevated levels of potentially harmful substances. Community coffee roasts darker than most national brands, creating harsh, bitter, burnt flavor. One certified grader stated, "Community coffee roasts so dark, the beans are essentially carbonized. At that roast level, you've destroyed whatever quality the beans had." This extreme dark roasting creates very high acrylamide levels, among the highest found in testing of major brands. The combination of dark roasting and long roasting times generates maximum acrylamide formation. For daily coffee drinkers, this creates significant unnecessary exposure to a probable carcinogen. Independent testing also found community coffee contains very low antioxidant levels compared to lighter roasted coffees. Testing found community coffee retains only about 20–30% of the antioxidants present in medium roasted specialty coffee. What makes community coffee particularly problematic is inconsistent quality and significant batch-to-batch variation. Consumers frequently report that community coffee tastes noticeably different from bag to bag, with some batches tasting relatively acceptable and others tasting distinctly off, sometimes almost rancid. This variation suggests inconsistent sourcing and inadequate quality control. Consumer complaints consistently describe severe digestive problems specifically from community coffee. Reviews frequently mention stomach upset, acid reflux, and digestive distress that doesn't occur with other brands. Multiple consumers report that community coffee triggers heartburn so severe they had to switch brands entirely. The company's sourcing transparency is minimal, providing virtually no specific information about where beans come from, what grades they purchase, or what quality standards they maintain. 12. Seattle's Best Coffee. Seattle's Best Coffee, owned by Starbucks, positions itself as a more accessible, value-oriented alternative to Starbucks' premium pricing. However, coffee experts and independent testing reveal that Seattle's Best represents some of the worst quality in Starbucks' portfolio, with corners cut extensively to hit lower price points. The primary issue is bean quality substantially inferior to even Starbucks' mainline products. Seattle's Best uses predominantly low-grade Arabica mixed with Robusta, sourced from the cheapest suppliers available. One former Starbucks employee explained, "Seattle's Best is where Starbucks uses beans that don't meet their quality standards for mainline products. It's essentially a dumping ground for rejected lots." Independent laboratory testing found Seattle's Best contains concerning pesticide residue levels higher than Starbucks branded products, with multiple pesticide compounds detected. Testing also found some batches with elevated ochratoxin A levels, suggesting use of beans with mold contamination. While levels remained within legal limits, the presence indicates quality control failures. What makes Seattle's Best particularly problematic is misleading marketing that implies connection to Seattle's specialty coffee culture. The brand name and packaging suggest craft coffee roots, but the reality is mass-market commodity coffee with quality comparable to Folgers. Professional tasters consistently rate Seattle's Best among the worst commercially available coffees. One certified taster stated, "Seattle's Best is a marketing fiction. There's nothing best about it except perhaps best at deceiving consumers." The taste receives universally poor reviews. Descriptions include harsh, bitter, astringent, with unpleasant chemical aftertaste. Many consumers specifically note that Seattle's Best tastes nothing like Starbucks. Despite the corporate connection, consumer complaints consistently describe digestive problems, severe acid reflux, and stomach upset. Some report finding foreign contaminants, including shells, twigs, and unidentifiable particles. The pricing is also deceptive, costing only slightly less than Starbucks. Mainline products despite being dramatically inferior quality. 13. Yuban. Yuban, owned by Kraft Heinz, has been marketed as a premium coffee option within the mass market segment. However, coffee experts and independent testing reveal that Yuban's quality has deteriorated significantly over the years as corporate owners prioritized cost-cutting over maintaining the quality reputation the brand once had. The primary concern is systematic quality degradation following multiple corporate acquisitions. Original Yuban used higher quality beans and more careful roasting than mass-market competitors. However, after Kraft's acquisition and subsequent cost-cutting mandates, Yuban now uses commodity beans barely distinguishable from Maxwell House. One former Kraft employee stated, "The directive from corporate was clear. Reduce Yuban costs to match Maxwell House while maintaining higher pricing." Modern Yuban is essentially rebranded Maxwell House with different packaging. Independent testing found Yuban contains pesticide residues comparable to other mass-market brands with multiple pesticide compounds detected. Testing also revealed significant batch-to-batch variation, with some lots tasting noticeably different despite identical packaging. This variation indicates inconsistent sourcing and inadequate quality control. Laboratory analysis also found evidence suggesting higher Robusta content than typical for brands claiming to be Arabica. While Yuban doesn't explicitly claim 100% Arabica, the marketing implies Arabica focus. However, testing suggests significant Robusta content, possibly 30–40% or more. Using Robusta while implying Arabica is deceptive and represents fraud. The taste of modern Yuban is consistently rated poorly by professional tasters. Descriptions include harsh, bitter, burnt, with unpleasant astringency and chemical notes. Longtime consumers who remember original Yuban consistently note dramatic quality decline. Consumer complaints have increased significantly in recent years, particularly regarding digestive issues. Reviews consistently describe stomach upset, acid reflux, and nausea. The pricing is particularly egregious, costing 20–40% more than Folgers or Maxwell House despite being essentially identical quality. 14. Lavazza imported. Lavazza, Italy's most famous coffee brand, has global prestige based on Italian coffee culture. However, coffee experts warn that Lavazza products sold in American stores face serious quality problems that make them poor choices despite the premium pricing and Italian branding. The primary issue is that Lavazza products sold in America are often different from what's sold in Italy, with inferior beans and longer storage times before retail sale. Coffee industry insiders explain that Lavazza manufactures different product lines for different markets. One coffee importer stated, "The Lavazza sold in American supermarkets is not the same product sold in Italian supermarkets. They're using the brand reputation built in Italy to sell inferior coffee to Americans who don't know the difference." Independent testing found that Lavazza sold in American retail stores is often months past optimal freshness by the time it reaches consumers. Coffee degrades rapidly after roasting, with significant flavor loss beginning within weeks. The logistics of importing from Italy mean Lavazza sits in shipping containers, warehouses, and store shelves for extended periods. Testing found some Lavazza products were 6 to 8 months from roasting date when purchased. Multiple consumers report that Lavazza tastes distinctly stale and flat. What makes Lavazza particularly problematic is the price-to-quality ratio, which is among the worst in the industry. Lavazza typically costs $10–15 per pound, pricing comparable to high-quality specialty coffees. However, testing and professional tasting confirm that Lavazza uses medium-grade commodity beans that have been aggressively dark roasted. One buyer stated, "Lavazza is massively overpriced for what you get. You're paying for Italian branding and packaging, not bean quality or freshness." The Italian roasting style itself creates problems. Lavazza roasts very dark, which obliterates origin characteristics and creates a uniform burnt flavor. Professional tasters describe Lavazza as harsh, bitter, and burnt, with no complexity. Consumer complaints consistently describe digestive problems specifically from Lavazza. Reviews frequently mention severe heartburn, stomach upset, and acid reflux. The company's transparency about sourcing is minimal, with investigations finding limited actual oversight of supplier practices. 15. Death Wish Coffee. Coffee markets itself as the world's strongest coffee, with edgy branding featuring skulls and aggressive marketing claims about extreme caffeine content. While high caffeine might appeal to some consumers, coffee experts and health professionals warn that Death Wish represents one of the worst coffee choices available due to dangerous caffeine levels, poor quality beans, and questionable safety practices that prioritize marketing over consumer well-being. The primary concern is dangerous caffeine levels that significantly exceed safe limits for many consumers. Death Wish claims to contain approximately 200% more caffeine than regular coffee, achieved through a combination of high-caffeine Robusta beans and extreme extraction. A single cup can contain 600–700 milligrams of caffeine, more than twice the FDA's recommended daily maximum of 400 milligrams for healthy adults. Dr. Adrian Hughes, an emergency medicine physician, states, "Consuming 600–700 milligrams of caffeine in a single serving is dangerous for many people. This level can trigger serious adverse effects, including heart arrhythmias, severe anxiety, tremors, and in people with underlying heart conditions, potentially life-threatening events." Multiple emergency room physicians have reported treating patients who experienced severe caffeine toxicity after consuming Death Wish coffee, including cases involving rapid heartbeat, chest pain, severe anxiety, and panic attacks. One ER doctor stated, "We've seen multiple cases where patients consumed Death Wish coffee without realizing how much caffeine it contains and experienced frightening symptoms that brought them to the emergency room." The bean quality is also problematic. To achieve extreme caffeine levels, Death Wish uses predominantly low-grade Robusta beans, which contain roughly twice the caffeine of Arabica, but have harsh, bitter, burnt rubber flavor characteristics. Professional tasters consistently describe Death Wish as having harsh, bitter flavor with no positive characteristics. One certified grader stated, "Death Wish tastes terrible because it's made from terrible beans. They're selecting beans purely for caffeine content, not flavor or quality." Independent laboratory testing found Death Wish contains very high acrylamide levels due to aggressive dark roasting used to mask poor bean quality. Testing also found minimal antioxidant content compared to quality coffee, meaning Death Wish delivers maximum caffeine with minimal health benefits. What makes Death Wish particularly problematic is marketing that glorifies excessive caffeine consumption and targets young men with aggressive branding. Public health advocates argue this marketing is irresponsible and potentially dangerous. The company provides inadequate warnings about the dangers of excessive caffeine. While Death Wish includes some caffeine content information, the warnings are not prominent and don't adequately convey serious health risks. Consumer complaints include numerous reports of severe adverse reactions, including heart palpitations, chest pain, severe anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, tremors, and digestive distress. Multiple consumers report needing medical attention after consuming Death Wish, with several reporting hospitalization for caffeine toxicity. Now, let's reveal the 5 critical rules for spotting fake coffee and buying pure, safe coffee. Rule 1. Check the origin and demand transparency. Quality coffee brands provide specific information about where beans originate. Look for geographic specificity, country, region, even specific farms or cooperatives. Legitimate specialty roasters proudly display origin information because they source carefully and have nothing to hide. If a brand refuses to disclose where beans come from, that's a major red flag suggesting they're hiding something, likely low-grade commodity beans from questionable sources. Real specialty coffee includes roast dates, so consumers can assess freshness. Coffee begins degrading immediately after roasting, with significant quality loss after just 2–3 weeks. If coffee doesn't display a roast date, only a vague best buy date months in the future, assume it's been sitting in warehouses and will taste stale. The best roasters display roast dates prominently because they are confident in their freshness. Be skeptical of vague marketing language like mountain grown, premium blend, or gourmet selection. These are meaningless marketing terms that don't indicate actual quality. The coffee industry uses these phrases specifically because they sound impressive while meaning nothing. If a brand can't or won't provide specific origin information and roast dates, that's evidence they're hiding inferior sourcing behind marketing language. Check for certifications from legitimate organizations like Fairtrade, Rainforest Alliance, or USDA Organic. While certification alone doesn't guarantee great coffee, it indicates some oversight of sourcing practices. Be aware that some brands create their own certification programs that sound impressive but have minimal actual standards. research certifications to understand what they actually verify. Transparency is the hallmark of quality brands. Secrecy suggests inferiority they're trying to hide. Rule 2. Avoid dark roasted coffee entirely. Despite popular belief, dark roasting doesn't indicate quality or strength. In fact, it's usually the opposite. Dark roasting is a common strategy to mask low-grade beans because aggressive roasting obliterates origin characteristics and defects, creating a uniform burnt flavor regardless of starting quality. Dr. Joseph Rivera, a coffee scientist, explains, dark roasting is often a sign of inferior beans. Quality roasters use lighter roasts that preserve origin characteristics and showcase bean quality. Dark roasting also destroys health benefits while creating potentially harmful compounds. Research consistently shows that lighter roasted coffee retains significantly more antioxidants, chlorogenic acids, and other beneficial polyphenols than dark roasted coffee. Meanwhile, dark roasting creates elevated levels of acrylamide, a probable carcinogen. Studies found light roasted coffee contains 2-3 times more beneficial antioxidants and significantly less acrylamide than dark roasted coffee. If you're drinking coffee for health benefits, choose light to medium roasts from quality beans. You'll get maximum beneficial compounds and minimal, potentially harmful ones. The coffee will also taste more interesting with actual flavor complexity rather than just burnt notes. Professional tasters and coffee scientists universally agree that lighter roasting produces better tasting, healthier coffee when quality beans are used. Be especially wary of terms like French roast, Italian roast, espresso roast, or anything describing very dark roasting. These indicate beans roasted until they're essentially carbonized. While some people prefer this intense burnt flavor, understand you're sacrificing health benefits and drinking coffee with minimal beneficial compounds and elevated potentially harmful ones. Quality always favors lighter roasting that preserves what makes coffee both delicious and healthy. Rule 3. Choose organic coffee whenever possible. Coffee is one of the most heavily sprayed crops globally, with conventional coffee farming using intensive pesticide applications, including some compounds banned in many countries but still used in coffee-producing nations. Choosing organic coffee dramatically reduces pesticide exposure, which is particularly important for daily coffee drinkers who accumulate exposure over time. Studies consistently find organic coffee contains significantly fewer pesticide residues than conventional coffee. Beyond pesticides, organic farming practices tend to produce coffee with lower mycotoxin contamination. Mycotoxins are toxic compounds produced by molds that grow on improperly processed coffee beans. Organic farming emphasizes soil health, proper drainage, and careful processing, all of which reduce mycotoxin risk. Testing has found organic coffees have significantly lower ochratoxin A levels than conventional coffees on average. Organic certification also ensures no genetic modification, no synthetic fertilizers, and no sewage sludge fertilizers. While coffee isn't currently genetically modified, organic standards prevent introduction of GMO coffee if it's developed. The prohibition on synthetic fertilizers means organic coffee farms build soil health naturally, which proponents argue produces better-tasting coffee with more complex flavor profiles. The price premium for organic coffee is modest and worthwhile for regular drinkers. Organic coffee from brands like Kirkland Organic or Trader Joe's costs only marginally more than conventional mass-market brands like Folgers. For the significant reduction in pesticide exposure and likely lower mycotoxin levels, the small price difference is excellent value for health-conscious consumers. When your health is at stake, the modest organic premium is one of the best investments you can make. Rule 4. Buy whole bean and grind fresh. Coffee degrades rapidly after grinding due to dramatically increased surface area exposure to oxygen. Ground coffee loses significant flavor within hours of grinding and becomes noticeably stale within days. Whole beans maintain quality much longer, typically staying fresh for 2 to 3 weeks after roasting if stored properly. If you're buying pre-ground coffee, you're guaranteed to be drinking stale coffee regardless of how recently it was roasted. Beyond freshness, pre-ground coffee is more susceptible to adulteration and fraud. Coffee fraud experts explain that adding filler materials like roasted corn, barley, or chicory is much easier to hide in pre-ground coffee than whole beans. Visual inspection of whole beans can reveal defects and quality issues, while ground coffee hides everything. If you buy whole beans, you can see exactly what you're getting and grind fresh for maximum flavor and quality. Grinding coffee fresh also allows you to control grind size for your brewing method, which significantly impacts flavor extraction. Different brewing methods require different grind sizes for optimal extraction. Pre-ground coffee uses a generic medium grind that's suboptimal for most brewing methods. By grinding fresh, you can optimize extraction and get significantly better tasting coffee from the same beans. A basic burr grinder costs $30–50 and is one of the best investments any coffee drinker can make. The improvement in flavor from grinding fresh is immediate and dramatic. Every coffee expert and professional recommends buying whole beans and grinding fresh. If you're serious about drinking good coffee and protecting yourself from fraud, this step is absolutely non-negotiable. The difference in quality and safety makes it essential. Rule 5. Learn to identify coffee fraud through simple tests. Coffee fraud is a multi-billion-dollar global problem, with estimates suggesting 10–30% of coffee sold worldwide is adulterated with cheaper materials. Learning simple at-home tests can help you identify potential fraud and avoid contaminated, adulterated coffee. The water test can reveal some adulterants. Place a spoonful of ground coffee in a clear glass of cold water. Pure coffee should float briefly, then slowly sink, with minimal color release. If the coffee releases dark color immediately, creating murky brown water, that suggests adulterants like roasted chicory or caramel coloring. If particles sink immediately like stones, that suggests heavier adulterants like roasted barley or corn. While not definitive, abnormal behavior in water suggests the coffee has been adulterated. The visual inspection test works for whole beans. Quality coffee beans should be relatively uniform in size and color within a batch, with minimal broken pieces or foreign objects. Look for signs of insect damage, mold growth, or unusual discoloration. If beans vary wildly in size or color, include significant broken pieces, or show mold, that's evidence of low-grade beans that quality roasters would reject. Smell the beans, they should have a rich, pleasant coffee aroma. If they smell musty, rancid, or have chemical odors, that's evidence of problems. The taste test is ultimately most important. Quality coffee should taste clean, with pleasant acidity, natural sweetness, and no harsh bitterness or burnt flavor. If your coffee tastes harsh, burnt, bitter, or has chemical notes, that's evidence of either low-quality beans, poor roasting, or both. While taste is somewhat subjective, objectively bad coffee is obvious. If your coffee consistently tastes unpleasant, switch brands immediately. Trust your instincts. If coffee tastes wrong, smells off, or causes unusual reactions like severe digestive upset or extreme jitters, stop drinking it. Your body is telling you something is wrong. Don't ignore those signals because of brand loyalty or because you paid for it. Bad coffee can contain mold, toxins, or adulterants that pose genuine health risks. When in doubt, throw it out and find a brand you can trust. We've covered 15 worst coffee brands to avoid, revealed the serious problems with mass-market coffee, and provided 5 critical rules for spotting fake coffee and buying pure, safe coffee. The takeaway is clear. Most coffee in American stores is inferior quality, often stale, sometimes adulterated, and generally not worth drinking regardless of price. The mass-market coffee industry prioritizes profit over quality, using the cheapest beans available, aggressive roasting to mask defects, and misleading marketing to convince consumers they're buying something they're not. Major brands like Folgers, Maxwell House, and their competitors are selling you burnt, low-grade, possibly contaminated coffee while spending millions on advertising to maintain brand loyalty built over generations. The solution is choosing coffee from transparent roasters who provide specific origin information and roast dates. Buy organic whenever possible to minimize pesticide exposure and reduce mycotoxin risk. Choose light to medium roasts that preserve beneficial compounds while minimizing harmful ones. Buy whole beans and grind fresh for maximum flavor and to reduce fraud risk. Learn to identify quality through appearance, aroma, and taste, and trust your instincts when something seems wrong. Quality coffee doesn't have to be expensive. Small local roasters often offer excellent coffee at reasonable prices. Online specialty roasters provide fresh, quality coffee delivered to your door at prices comparable to mass-market brands once you account for the dramatic quality difference. The investment in learning about quality coffee and finding reliable sources pays dividends in both flavor and health for years to come. Remember that coffee should enhance your life, not harm it. The right coffee from quality beans properly roasted provides genuine health benefits, tastes delicious, and gives you energy without the harsh side effects of low-grade coffee. The wrong coffee from contaminated beans aggressively roasted exposes you to toxins, provides minimal health benefits, tastes terrible, and can cause serious digestive and health problems. If you found this investigation valuable, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more videos exposing food fraud, protecting consumer health, and providing the information you need to make informed choices. Thank you for watching till the end. Tell us in the comments which coffee brand you currently use and whether you'll be making changes based on what you learned today. Have you suspected your coffee wasn't what it claimed to be? Let's keep this conversation going and help more families discover what real coffee should taste like and why it matters for your health.